Everyone, please welcome the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute Board of Directors Chair, Rosalind Houston.
Good evening and welcome to the 32nd anniversary celebration of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Tonight, we honor the courageous legacy of the late Reverend Fred L. Shuttlesworth, whose work and vision remain at the heart of BCRI's mission. To the Honorable Mayor Arrington, welcome. We are so glad to see you. And to the Honorable Randall Woodfin in his absence, Birmingham City Council President Darrell O'Quinn, and all elected and appointed officials at the city, county, state, and federal levels. Thank you for your unwavering support and for joining us here this evening. It is our privilege tonight to recognize the incomparable Miss Odessa Woolfolk. Let's please. A trailblazer and visionary whose extraordinary dedication to civil, human, and equal rights has transformed our city, state, and our nation. Ms. Woolfolk, your unwavering commitment to justice and equality, it inspires us all, and we are deeply honored to celebrate you this evening. To the Shuttlesworth family, daughters Ruby, Patricia, and Dr. Carolyn, your presence tonight brings us such great joy, and it reminds us of the power of legacy. Thank you for making the journey back to Birmingham. Please. A heartfelt thank you to our legacy sponsor, First Horizon, and all of our generous corporate sponsors who have made this evening possible. Your partnership is essential to our work. To our faithful team members and former team members who are here tonight, our donors, thank you for your dedication down through the years and your support, which allows us to deliver the impactful exhibits, education, and programming to our community. For 32 years, the BCRI has stood as a vital part of Birmingham's ecosystem, preserving the past and inspiring future generations. As we reimagine our future, we commit to deeper engagement with our community, corporate and civic leaders, to strengthen the well-being of our community and the entire Civil Rights Monument District. Thank you all for joining us tonight as we celebrate this milestone, as we honor Ms. Odessa Woolfolk, and continue toward the work of equal, just, and free human experience for all. And now, help me welcome Ed Fields, Chief Strategist for the City of Birmingham, Office of Mayor Randall L. Woodfin.
Good evening. I got to tell you, I did not expect to be emotionally moved when I stepped up here to look at this room, but I am, for so many terrific reasons. First, to Roz Houston, Chair of the Board, thank you so much for bringing your considerable corporate and civic energies to this space at this critical time. We couldn't be more appreciative of what you're sharing and giving. To the Board of Directors, thank you for leading in some pretty unprecedented times. I have seen part of your journey, and I'm tired just thinking about it. But this is what you signed up to do. This actually is a part of liberation work. This is a part of movement building. This is what it means to organize. Governance matters. Thank you for your leadership. To all of our beloved elders, our foot soldiers, to Dr. Arrington, to Ms. Shuttlesworth, to the families, thank you for being present to remind us why we are here. You are the fuel that drives this engine that is a movement. Thank you. And as I think about you, I can't help but to think of Good Trouble. And when I think of Good Trouble, I think of Odessa Woolfolk. What I want to say, you're going to hear about Odessa, you will hear from her And she doesn't like to be called Miss Odessa, at least not by me, so I call her Odessa, the one and only. It's one thing to see strategic plans and to read reports and to see renderings. But for me, when I was 25 years old and came to Birmingham, it was another thing to be in a boardroom or in a conference room to see someone of legend and lore rolling up her sleeves to do the good, troubled work of moving Birmingham forward, even after a time in which she was pretty successful. She and Dr. Birdie and a bunch of folks in this room showed young leaders like me. Now I got a lot more gray hair, so don't. But at that time, you all were the beacons of light that carried us forward. So with all that said, on behalf of the Honorable Mayor Randall Woodfin, I do bring you greetings on behalf of the City of Birmingham Mayor's Office. But the mayor would also have me share with you a charge. And it's a charge connected to a remix of some classic wisdom that we've heard. That is, necessity is the mother of invention. That idea that once you are backed up into a corner and there's nowhere else to go, that there is a divine spirit and creative energy that surges, that helps you rethink, reimagine what's possible. And so the remix is this: necessity is the mother of reimagination. And as we think about this 32-year journey that is the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, the mayor would also have you think about the journey of reimagination at a time where it seems that so many people in our country are unsure about what to do next. At a time where there has been unprecedented resources poured into this district and all of Western Birmingham, and at a time where we have more partners and friends aligned than at any other point in time in this organization's history, this is a unique moment. So tonight, we ask you to celebrate Odessa, to share and fellowship among one another, but also let's be prepared to do the hard work of reimagining what's possible for this institute that sits at the very heart of the identity of this wonderful community. Thank you.
Please welcome the Birmingham City Council President, Darrell O. Quinn.
Good evening. It's a pretty crowded room, so I'm not sure if any of my council colleagues that are here tonight, but I don't want to step away from the podium, not have recognized the folks who I serve with on the Birmingham City Council. I'm honored to be here with you as we celebrate another milestone in this institution and their ongoing mission. For decades, BCRI has served as a place of reflection, a monument to resilience, and a mirror to the past and present. On behalf of the Birmingham City Council, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude for everyone who has dedicated themselves to preserving these stories and conveying what happened here to present generations. The importance of that work cannot be stressed enough. Recently, with everything that's been happening with our political discourse in America, we've been having conversations about the role of local government and how we can support and protect our communities. In many ways, BCRI is our North Star. It is a permanent reminder of what we can accomplish when we're united in solidarity and mobilized with a purpose. I want to leave you all with a quote from the author James Baldwin that I think has a lot of power today. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. Thank you again for having me as we commemorate this institution, the movement, all those who lived in it, and Miss Odessa Woolfolk. Thank you.
Turn your attention to the screen for a video presentation.
We began an undertaking today which speaks to the greatness of Birmingham and the vitality of this state and nation. For indeed, the eyes of the nation and the world anxiously watched nearly 30 years ago as people in this very city struggled valiantly to free themselves and this country from the incorrigible cocoon of inhumane darkness and oppression, and to make real and meaningful the light of human freedom, human dignity, goodwill, and brotherhood. If there ever was a city that should and ought to have a civil rights museum, it is Birmingham, Alabama, which will symbolize the struggle and preserve the history of that battle with all of its pathos, suffering, anxieties, courage, and glory. The national and worldwide effect of the Southern struggle was to declare that peace, even though wars still occur, peace is God's gift for man's future. And that nonviolence, rather than violence, is a far better way of solving human problems. Surely the world must know and perhaps long remember what we do here today and the monument to life and living which you will build in the days ahead. My prayer, my sincere prayer, is that the officials and every citizen of Birmingham will press forward in faith and in the renewal of the spirit of life which God Himself gives, and keep on moving this city, this state, this nation, yea, this world forward. And I hope your slogan will be, forward ever, backwards never. God bless Birmingham, our nation, and the world.
Please welcome Michael Goodrich of the Mike and Gillian Goodrich Foundation, former CEO and chairman of BE&K.
Thank you. It's my personal privilege and really honor to introduce my longtime friend and one of my personal heroes, Odessa Woolfolk, as a recipient of the 2024 Fred Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award. Odessa and I go back a long way. We've been working together many, many years, and as a point of personal privilege, Odessa taught me so much about interfacing with humans and people and the dignity of people and the worth of people, and I can't thank you enough for that. Odessa is a native of Birmingham, as everyone knows, attended Ullman and Parker High Schools. She served as the administrator for the Jefferson County Committee on Economic Development. And for 10 years, she was the director of the UAB Center for Urban Affairs And upon her retirement, UAB established the Odessa Woolfolk Presidential Community Service Award in her honor. Odessa served as state chair of the National Conference of Christians and Jews. She was founding member of Leadership Birmingham and Leadership Alabama. She served as president of Operation New Birmingham and currently serves on the board of the UAB Education Foundation. She was vice chair of the Alabama State Advisory Commission to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, and she co-chaired the United Way campaign for many years. And in addition to all that, she served as a commissioner of the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District. She, along with David Vann, Richard Arrington, Herb Skinner, and others, were the impetus behind the creation of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. She was the founding board chair and helped transform the Institute into the nationally recognized Center for Civil Rights Education and Activism. Odessa has received numerous awards and honors over the years. She's been inducted into the Birmingham Gallery of Distinguished Citizens and the Alabama Academy of Honor. She was awarded doctorates by Talladega College, her alma mater, the University of the South at Sewanee, Birmingham Southern College, and Occidental College. Doctorates from four colleges. This is amazing. And I think it's very fitting that the institute that she helped found would award her the prestigious Fred Shuttlesworth Award. Odessa, thank you for your leadership and your service in making Birmingham a better community, and we really appreciate all you've done for us. Thank you very much.
Like the tall lectern because they said they were in the audience and couldn't see me. I was not amused. Well, let me give you my opening thought for the day. Some of you will appreciate it, and some of you are feeling it. Some of you, all of you, hopefully will one day see it. And here it is. Old age ain't for sissies. I'm just saying. I don't know what to say because I was in the role of deciding that we were going to give an award in the honor of Fred Shuttlesworth and was on the committees, except this one, for the recipients. And had I not gotten this one, I would have said, this was a great bunch of people, all of them. I will say that, excluding this one. I did write down something to say. The organizers told me that don't think I'm before a class at UAB where I have a whole hour or two to talk. Greetings to all of you, and thanks for your support of the Institute. A special shout out to a family that I have come to know and love, the Shuttlesworth. We're missing one of them, their brother, and we think of him kindly with love. Welcome home, because this is always your home. It's their home because they got banged up too here. one of them literally. Well, a toast to the Institute, its founders, and the sustainers, which includes all of you. When board chair Roz Houston informed me that the Institute's board, and I wasn't in the meeting for the vote, had voted to honor me with the coveted Fred Shuttlesworth Award for Human Rights, I was speechless. Fancy that, me speechless. I also am reminded at this moment of the people who meant so much to me growing up. I can't name them all, but I'll put them in groups. Family, of course. Mariette, my kindergarten teacher in Tittlersville. Talladega College, where we were taught, and that was back during the days of segregation, that we were good as anyone, regardless of our station in life, our race, creed, color, and so on, and that we should take our education, which was first rate, Houston, Betty, fellow Talladegans, and that we could do great things with people, but we must be kind and humble and gentle and remember what we learned in kindergarten. And I was so naive, I believed all that stuff. And then the Congregational Church, which is for social justice. A lot of you know about that church. And all of them led me to the life of service that I hope has been beneficial. And I hope all of those aforenamed are pleased with me. If I say no more about that, I'll cry. Well, Reverend Shuttlesworth was my civil and human rights hero. It was his courageous leadership, as you know, that broke the back of state-sanctioned discrimination here and elsewhere. President Kennedy said in a meeting in the White House in 1963, "But for Birmingham, we would not be here. But for Birmingham, we would not be here." Thank you, Fred. Fred was also, I called him Reverend Fred. Reverend Fred also was a mentor to me when I was co-chair of the task force that Mayor Arrington appointed to do some preliminary planning. There had already been a plan that David Vann and his team, Horace Hundley was the co-chair of that team, that said we should do this. And David, bless his heart, David tried to get a civil rights museum, as it was called then, established. But nobody listened to David. But the path to this place, to the creation of this place, was long and arduous, with many twists and turns along the way. Desegregation proceeded at a slow pace during the 1970s, and there was a reluctance amongst our leadership to discuss race in the public square. After all, the Yankees, no offense to anybody who came from Yankee land, the Yankees were always talking about our backwardness and all of that. Some of what they said we deserve, but when I started visiting them, I saw some backwardness too. Anyway, that's another story. So, David Vann, after visiting the Holocaust Museum in Israel, how many of you have visited the Holocaust? If you ever go to Israel, that is an experience that you should take in. So David said, what we ought to do in Birmingham to take a similar approach to memorialize our heritage, which we were trying to run away from. But as I said before, the response to David's suggestion was lukewarm and worse. When Director Arrington became mayor in 1979, he decided that he was going to resurrect the idea. Now I'm giving you, this is the elevator talk about the history of the Institute. But I think we want to remind ourselves, those who were part of it, those who were born, and all of us need to think about how we got to this place where now we sit. And because so many of us in this room had something to do with it, we think it bears telling and retelling. I don't know if Frank Young is in the room. I haven't seen Frank. Hey, Frank. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here because I'm going to talk about you. Arrington appointed Frank and me to co-chair the Civil Rights Museum Task Force. Frank at the time was a young progressive president of the Chamber of Commerce Board, and he was an up-and-coming lawyer at a major law firm. I was director of the UAB Center for Urban Affairs. We had a very progressive, diverse group committed to healing the wounds of the past and fostering minority participation in the democratic process and free enterprise system. We believed in those values, the values of civil and human rights. So it was our job to go and sell this idea. And we could tell you some wonderful stories about the various response we got about how bad this idea was. Well, the Birmingham News came out and said, and I'll quote them, "Some lasting memorial to our city's historic role in the civil rights movement is long overdue." So they were touting the value of this. But it didn't go over too well with a lot of people. Dick Arrington and the council tried 2 bond issues. Now, I'm a history buff, so I'll go on and on. I hope the rest of you appreciate this. So they had these 2 bond issues in 1986 and 1988, which included, there were about 12 items. One of them was museums, not just the Civil Rights Institute, but the other museums. But they were roundly defeated at the polls. And here are some of the arguments that we heard against creating an institute. 1, we should not open up old wounds. The institute will rekindle racial strife. There are more pressing problems like potholes and so on for tax dollars. And you don't need a new facility for a handful of old papers. Just put them in Marvin Whiting's library. Marvin Whiting was a favor of the Institute, and he wanted them over here too. White people won't come, and black people will use the Institute as a place for rabble-rousing. They really were talking about Abraham Woods. I don't know if Calvin is here. And then some other people had the temerity to say, well, 16th Street Church is losing population. City ought to buy that church from the congregation and make it a museum. How dare they? Well, the task force at Arrington's urging said we were going to forge ahead, and we did. We worked with museum designers paid for by the city, civil rights historians, local foot soldiers of the movement, architects, fund developers. We completed our work and submitted a report. There are some people in this room, too, I won't call all the names, I may miss somebody, who served on that task force. So the mayor took our advice and moved forward and decided that the city, in fact, would have an institute. And that is what you see tonight. Now, what we did was to have the council and the mayor create a board of directors at the recommendation of the task force. And there were 15 members of that board. I was appointed chair of the board. And since we didn't have an executive director of the program, we decided that I would act as administrator, so that's why you see my name and all this stuff. Well, we did advertise for an executive director, and it was 4 years before anybody took our bite. So there I was with our team, moving ahead, learning on the job, becoming experts in museumology. Well, that director stayed 1 year, and I was back at the job. And Lawrence is looking at me because he knows what I'm going to say. So the Dean of African American Museums said, look, Odessa, we know somebody. He's been a high school principal, and he's from the mean streets of New Orleans. He has had all kinds of jobs, blue collar, white collar, and other kinds of jobs. And we think he is your guy. So we asked this guy, Lawrence Pigeot, if he would interview. Well, there were other people looking for him too. And the main company that I thought would get him was the Chicago Museum. But I knew Lawrence grew up in New Orleans. He had lived in cold climates, and he didn't want to go back to Chicago. So we were right. He came, and he stayed. And let me, while I'm mentioning it, Lawrence, how many of you have read the book On Our Watch, written by the staff? Now, here's the deal. You ought to reach in your pockets and get a few dollars out, call the gift store, have them order you a book. Because what that book does is to tell you 20 years of how the Institute carried out the mission. So read it. You can afford buy yourself a Christmas present, a Hanukkah present. I diverse from what I'm supposed to do. And let me mention, too, another person who was very critical to getting the Institute. You have to have money. So we'd ask a lot of people, Dick Arrington, Frank, and I had gone around, ask a lot of deep pockets if they would help us. Well, we didn't have anything to show, and people didn't know the quality we had in our mind. We were first-rate thinkers. We had the best designers, the best everything. I sound like a president I have who has the best of everything. Forgive me, I don't want to get political. So anyway, we had the best of everything. And so when this building came out of the ground, folks said, oh my God, corporations wanted to have their cocktail parties here. It was great. The foot soldiers liked it, we all liked it. It was a good thing. So Herb Sklenar is the person who chaired that campaign. And he had 5 other people working with him. And if you look outside, just in front of the elevator, you will see the list of all of the contributors to that first campaign. And it is the name of all of the major players in Birmingham. They bought into this. So I want you to follow what Roz, the mayor's representative, city council president, have, and help this place move to the next level. We need it now more than ever. Some of the basic civil and human rights that we have dedicated our work to are coming under attack. So just remember our mission to enlighten each generation about civil and human rights by exploring our common past and working together in the present to build a better future. That is what our mission was then. That is what our mission is now. That is what our mission should be forever and a day. You can make it happen. Now, I sound like I'm giving a sermon. That's because I was influenced by Reverend Fred. You remember when he would always start talking, he says, I hear a sermon coming on. But really, I'm a true believer because I think this country can use truth knowing about history, bringing people together from whatever backgrounds, station in life they have. Because that's the only way we can make it as a community, as a nation. So I challenge all of you to join the quest to have what one philosopher, in fact, he was Socrates' teacher. And here's how he defined, once a teacher, you can't help being a teacher. It just stays with you. Anyway, so he says, the ideal community exists when those who have not been injured are as indignant as those have. Listen to that. The ideal community exists when those who have not been injured by circumstances, poverty, etc., are as indignant as those who have. Finally, I offer my appreciation to my fellow board members for this singular honor to put me in the room with the folks whose images you've seen there, and to give me this, which I will always cherish. I ask you to join us all in the service and the search for a just and peaceful community. Thank you.
Everyone, please welcome the Arthur Harold Parker High School Choir.
Here comes the 18.
Please welcome Tiffany Saxton, the Vice President of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute.
Good evening. Thank you all so very much for being here with us tonight. Whether this is your first visit to the Institute or you were a part of the group of folks with Odessa helping to ideate and build this institution, we are pleased that you have joined us. We hope that you will continue to join us. on the path forward as we continue to advocate for human rights and a just world. We are opening the galleries back up. So if you haven't had a chance to take a tour through, see the Alabama State University ballet dancers, Salam Green, Birmingham's first poet laureate, some of our other poetry, violinists. It is a wonderful experience that we hope you won't miss out on tonight. We are open until 7. And if you are moved and willing, please continue to support, become a member of the Institute, donate to the Institute. Work with us, collaborate with us as we reimagine the future and come together for the next 32 years. Thank you and good night.
This concludes our program. Please continue to enjoy our gallery experiences. Thank you.